Hi, good evening, and welcome to the Knatters Knits podcast. Or good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, no matter where you are. I'm saying evening because today is Monday, the 25th of January 2016, and it's about 8 o'clock in the evening, 8:30 now. It was 8 o'clock when I started recording, but another story. So, welcome back to anybody who's watched me before, and hi, and thanks for dropping in if you've not dropped in before. Really appreciate you checking out the podcast. My name's Natalie. I live in the north of Lancashire in England, and I'm sitting in a very dark and dingy study tonight. Sorry about the lighting in the background and also in the foreground, really, but never mind. I apologise in advance for the noise outside. Probably can't, you can't hear, but it's that direction. The local bell ringers are practicing their bell ringing, ready for, I suppose, Sunday. And well, I'm not a great lover, I'm afraid. Sorry, guys. So, anyway, thank you very much indeed for checking me out. You can see me all over the internet on Facebook, Twitter, Ravelry, Instagram, all the usual places. What I'd really like you to do is to pop into the Ravelry group. That's www.ravelry.com. And if you search for the Knatters Knits podcast group or Knatters Knits group, it's all the same thing. And drop in, become a member. It's free. You don't have to do anything to join other than click the button. Come and say hi and tell us a bit about yourselves, because we'd love to know, who it is that watches. Well, I particularly would like to know who it is that watches me. It's a very strange feeling actually sitting talking to a screen and not knowing who you're going to be talking to. I've got a few ideas of who some of you are, because some people are leaving things now and are sort of saying hi and telling us a bit about themselves, but there's quite a few of you I don't know, so please do make yourselves known, because they're a really nice bunch in there and they'll make you feel very welcome. Right, so as this is a knitting podcast, I'm going to get on with it. So, the first thing is I have a finished object. Now don't faint. I know, but don't faint. You'll remember I started knitting out of Jinx yarn. I'll show you the colour of the yarn. A baby bonnet, and it's finished. Lovely little bonnet. It's not blocked yet, but other than that, there it is. I think it would look absolutely adorable on any little baby, really. I like the pictures at the end. What am I talking about? This picture here. Everything's frozen on me, so whether it just is recording. Yeah, there we go. That's the end of it there. And I love the diamonds here. I think they show up beautifully. The stitch definition in this yarn is absolutely fantastic. As I said, it's from the United States. It's Jinx yarns. I don't know what the colourway is called, but I call it sherbet. And this is potentially going to be for my new grandbaby, but potentially for sale. And I won't know till tomorrow, because tomorrow is the day that my daughter has her scan. So I'm so excited to find out whether it's a little girl or a little boy. But anyway, it's potentially for grandbaby, but possibly not. We'll see. So that's a finished item. It's the only finished item this week. Sorry guys. I have rather got carried away with my next object. So I'm going to move on to works in progress now. Most of you who've watched the podcast before are probably fed up of hearing about this yarn. This is the long-awaited, thanks to the British Post Office and the Customs, bought skein of Miss Bab's Yowza. It's not that colour, it's much more ready, more of a Merlot than anything else. And no, I'm not a great wine aficionado before anybody says anything, but it is a really lovely colour, and oh, it's so soft and squishy. It's really, really nice. Now, since the last podcast, it took me 2 days to wind this into a ball. Just this one. It went into yarn bath. I put it on the wool winder, and I put it on the very big circular thing. The wool winder. Put it on there, and it turned to yarn bath, because obviously the niddy noddy that they use, or similar piece of equipment, Miss Babs, it's a different arm length to my woolly winder, and there was a bit too much give in it, and it all went everywhere. So it took me 2 days to get this back into a ball. You can see my kittens have fun, but I didn't. So that's that one. So what I'm knitting with it is a pattern that I found on Ravelry. It's called PT8275. Now that rather reminds me of the sci-fi drama where they go through the iris and they go and see all the different worlds, and they're called P something or other. So this is my interplanetary jumper. Nothing else to do with planets other than it makes me think of the planets that they go to. I started on the back and I've managed to get this far so far, which isn't bad, I think, in 3-4 days, when you consider I've been working and doing all sorts of other things that I'll tell you about in a minute. The stitch definition on this yarn is fantastic. You can really see the stitches beautifully. I've never really done a huge amount of cables before, but these, you can't really see very well with my lighting, can you? The cables are coming out beautifully. You can just about catch that bottom one there, can't you? It is a really lovely pattern, and although it looks as if it's got lots of light shining through because of that lamp behind, it isn't really that holy. But it is lovely and soft, and I do like it, so I'm really looking forward to wearing it. I've set myself a bit of a mini deadline, but I don't know whether I'm going to meet it or not, so I'm not saying anything. It's funny, as I'm sitting recording now, I'm actually looking at myself as a picture on the screen, and it's just reminded me, when you go and look for my channel on YouTube, if you remember back, I started when I had no hair, and I'd had it all shaved off for cancer, Macmillan Cancer charity. And as the episodes go up on YouTube, you can see my hair getting longer and longer and longer, and now it's got to the stage I've never had it any longer than this, and I'm desperately trying to work out whether to have it cut or whether to grow it. So it's not a prize question, but what do you think? Longer? Shorter? The story goes, you see, when I was 8, I refused to brush my hair, have my mother brush it, do anything, so she put a basin on my head and cut round. I then ended up having to go to the hairdressers to have the damage undone, and I've had a short haircut ever since, so that 40, yeah, and the rest, yes, a lot of years. So that's my work in progress, which I'm going to get back to when I finish recording here. Next thing to tell you about is stash. Well, I'm doing alright. I still haven't bought any yarn. I realised the other day I've still got an outstanding parcel that I ordered at the same time as Miss Bab's yarn that still hasn't turned up, so I'm chasing that one up. So I won't name and shame anybody just yet, but we'll wait and see whether it turns up or not. I was browsing through the Ravelry boards the other day, as you do, and I was looking at a thread in Sarah's Texture Crafts group, and she was getting really excited because she's had something published. So I decided to go and look at it. It's in Yarn Maker magazine, and that's the winter edition. The cover there, pictures of spinning wheels, sheep, and she not only has an article, she has a 3-page spread, and she is a centrefold. There's no picture of Sarah, but well done Sarah for getting this article in there. So it's working with gradient tops, a book and an experiment. So she's written a book, an e-book, which you can buy on Ravelry, and you can see some of Sarah's lovely work. Some of her lovely colourways. So this Sarah's article is basically about how you can get different effects by hand spinning colours, just by the way you actually approach the braid or the fleece. That's just one of the articles in here. This is the first time I've ever bought the Yarn Maker. And there's an article on dyeing wool in a roasting tin. Looks interesting. There was an article about Spinzilla 2015. Well, yes, I remember that well. Actually, there's one of the things is they're looking at doing it again. Well, I know that I spun very similar to the lady that wrote the article. She did 5,990 yards, which is about what I spun. So I'm just wondering whether I should look at joining a team this next year. Now, this is the second attempt at recording. The first attempt, I was telling you a tale, so I'll start again. And then I'll explain why I'm talking about it in this section with this book. Yesterday was Sunday, and I was teaching a spinning lesson to a beginner spinner. And she brought with her a wheel. When it came, I took a look at it and thought, I don't understand. Now, that's not usually the reaction I have to spinning wheels, I have to say. But this particular wheel floored me a bit. It was made of 2 or 3 different colours of wood. Some were very, very old pieces, and some parts of it were not so old. I wouldn't say brand new, because they didn't look brand new, but there were definitely different pieces from different parts, all put together. So I went onto one of my Facebook groups that I belong to, Facebook groups, and posted a few pictures and said, "Hi guys, can anybody help me with this? What do you think it is?" And it turns out that it was probably a flax spinner. The group was so helpful, so I'd like to say thank you very much to spinners in the UK for helping me out with that. That was really, really kind of you, and the lady in question, whose wheel it is, has now joined that group. So that's really, really nice, and I hope that she'll get a lot of good support from them. But what made me think about it was this article. It's called Harry Pounce's Spinning Wheels, and there's some amazing pictures of wheels in here. And I can see in some of these some elements of some of the things that this lady had on her wheel. There's shawl patterns, collar patterns in this magazine. It's an Icelandic craft tour. I don't know whether I fancy that or not. I like the idea of hot springs in Iceland, but I don't like the idea of the cold. There's an article on the speckled face Beulah sheep fleece, and I have to show you if I can get the right picture. Picture of these sheep here. Just look at those babies. Aren't they gorgeous? They just look such lovely, lovely sheep. So that's in there. I haven't read this in any depth yet because it only came today. But it looks like it's going to be at a level that I can cope with. There's some articles in some magazines that to do with spinning that I find a little bit too theoretical and a bit over my head. Whereas this one's got readers' letters, it's got events, there's some supplier and product news, there's lots of adverts for lots of UK type things, more about books. There's a directory of spinning groups and guilds, which is always useful. And I must actually think about taking that out and taking it with me when I go to shows so that I can actually find a group for people, because quite often I get asked about do I know a guild near so and so. So that's that one. There's a competition in there. Ooh. There. Yes, I have to think about that one. And the back cover is some Valais black-nosed sheep on the slopes of the Matterhorn in Switzerland. There we go. It's not a full photograph, but there's some Valais black-nose. So that's Yarn Maker. Like I said, it's the first edition I've actually bought for myself, and to be honest, the first time I've really taken any look at it. But it looks encouraging. I really, really like it. And so the author, Dorothy Lum, who puts it together and writes quite a bit for it, thank you very much. It's lovely. She hasn't sent it as a freebie or anything. I have actually purchased this. She doesn't know I'm doing this, so it's just my personal opinion on that one. So I've talked to you about the pattern, I've talked to you about that. Now, I haven't got anything else as stash. I've been really, really good. I've stuck to my New Year's resolutions so far. I must admit though that I have had quite a few evenings where I've sat and thought, no I mustn't. No I mustn't. So, excuse me, I have got to be really, really careful because I know that things are going to get a lot worse. I'm finding it really hard because I keep seeing some really lovely stuff. Either that or I've got to ban myself from Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and anywhere else on the net, really. If I stay away from the computer and from the internet, I'm fine. But if I don't, I'm scuppered. So I thought this week I'd just chat a little bit, because you probably noticed that this week's episode is late, and was it last week or the week before I was late at podcasting as well. In fact, I didn't podcast at all because I didn't feel very well. So I thought perhaps I'd explain a little bit more about what's going on in my life, so that you can understand where I'm coming from. Over Christmas, I was taken ill. I had what we suspected might have been a migraine, but might have been a mini stroke. I had loss of sight in my left eye. I had numbness all the way down my left side, which obviously faded and I can see again. But it did take a while for that feeling to go away, and it wasn't very nice. So I ended up going to the hospital to be seen by a doctor, and I ended up having an MRI scan. Not the sort of thing that you really want to spend the best part of a morning of your life doing, but that's what I did. Fortunately, I haven't had a mini stroke, or a major stroke for that matter. I haven't got a brain tumour. That was the other thing they were trying to rule out. What they decided it was is a reawakening of migraines. I haven't had migraines for years, and I just used to have horrendous headaches, and I used to just take myself to my bed for 2 or 3 days and they'd pass off. Now it seems that I'm not getting headaches anymore. I'm just getting this visual disturbance, which is so severe that if I'm driving I have to pull over. I just cannot carry on. And I then have to go off and sleep. And I had another one on Saturday, and that lasted a little while, a bit longer than the last one did, although I didn't get the numbness this time. But I went off and I ended up sleeping for 5 hours afterwards, which wasn't good. So that pretty much wasted Saturday, really. So actually, the more I think about it, the more I realise that what I've done on my knitting is actually quite good, because it's quite a decent amount considering. The other thing I spent last week doing was ferrying my husband around. My husband's got Phil has a heart condition called atrial fibrillation. Basically, it's like when your heart, instead of beating top and then bottom and top and then bottom and top and then bottom, sort of does this, and it's like a bag of worms. And the electrical impulses, it's not wired up right, basically, which is fine most of the time. But if it kicks off and it triggers something, his heart ends up being about 130, 140 beats a minute or even more, which he finds quite scary and ends up passing out. Makes him feel very, very unwell. He's had some treatment for it, in that they did when they, on the telly, they and they start your heart. Well, they did that to kick-start his heart and reboot it almost. And that worked. But because there's a family history, they've decided that the best thing to do is actually to go in and do a little surgery to burn away the area where the electrical impulses are a bit wacky, really. So last Thursday I drove him the 20 miles to hospital, and then drove all the way back and went to work. And I was expecting to get a phone call from him in the evening saying, yes, I've had it and everything's okay, and will you please pick me up tomorrow? But unfortunately, at about 2:30 in the afternoon, I got a phone call saying, I haven't had it, they're cancelling me, and can you come and pick me up? So I had to go. So I've been there and back, that's 40 miles, and then I went there and back again to pick him up. So it was an 80-mile round trip, about between £3 and £5 in car parking, half a day's lost pay for me, and a full day's lost pay for my husband. So we weren't particularly happy bunnies. But there again, when you consider that the NHS is free at point of delivery, and yes, okay, we do pay national insurance, but it's not a huge amount really in the grand scheme of things. It wasn't so bad. He's alive, he's okay, but it's going to happen again in a fortnight, so it does worry me. Obviously there's a chance he might not come home, and you know, that's going to scare you a bit, really, hasn't it? So that worries me a little. But you know, he's usually very, very okay with things, and he should be all right. But I am spending a lot of time worrying about him and worrying about that. So that's what's going on in my life at the moment. So I've got a bill of health apart from the migraines, and he's got this cardiac condition that's ongoing, but should actually be cured once he's had the cells and the wiring redone. Makes him sound like an old house, doesn't it, that needs redone. Sorry, Phil. You're upstairs. Yeah, so that's what's going on here at the moment. As I said, tomorrow we get to find out whether the grandbaby is a girl or a boy. We know there's just one in there, just one, but we don't know what sex it is yet, so that's rather exciting. I don't think I have a preference. I just want a grandbaby. I don't mind really, as long as they're going to be happy and the baby's happy, then that's fine by me. But I just want to know so I can get on and do some knitting. Mind you, the wacky colours I'm knitting in at the moment, you know, they could be for anybody really. So that's what's happening at the moment here. It's getting closer and closer to the retreat I'm going to, and that's what my deadline is all about for this jumper. So that's the end of February. I don't know if I'm going to finish it in time, because today's the 25th of January. I've made a quarter way out the back. I don't think it's going to happen, in all honesty. In fact, the jumper will probably be ready for the summer. Hey ho. That's the way it goes, isn't it? And also with the weather being so wacky at the moment, what is it? I mean, in the States, and I think probably Canada too, parts of Canada, there's snowfalls and snowdrifts and things. Crazy. We had nothing like that here, just rain and rain. And even though we're supposed to be getting the tail end of the storm, excuse me, I've had this humongous curry for tea, and I've eaten far too much. I'm a piggy tidy. No, that ferret is going to come back and haunt me at work now, isn't it? Oh, I never learn. Anyway, yeah, so the weather's rather crazy. We had over the weekend some very, very cold weather, and it was -1, 0, that sort of thing. And it's 11 degrees today. What's with that? And it was when I went to Australia last summer, in their winter it was 11 degrees. You know, it's like a summer's day here, not nice summer's day, because obviously it's dark and it's overcast, but the temperatures are definitely summer day temperatures. Oh, that's really, really weird. So I'm going to go and crack on with this jumper now, and try and get this uploaded tonight. I suppose all there is for me to say is thank you very much. Oh no, one more thing I've just remembered. Last time I asked you for hints and tips about sock knitting, and thank you. Thank you so much. You've given me loads and loads of different things. Some on the Ravelry page, some on YouTube just in the comments. I've had emails, all sorts of things. So what I'm going to do, because I thought these tips and hints might actually apply to other people as well, might be quite useful, is I'm actually going to do a blog post, probably in the next week or so, and I'm going to put them all in there, so that other people can go and get the hints and tips. So if you want to see those, it's going to be www.knattersknits.blogspot.co.uk, and I'll try and remember to put a thing at the end with all the different relevant information on, so you can get that, because I know I'm speaking rather fast now. So as I'm trying to make my mission not to be any longer than half an hour, I'm going to sign off now and say thank you very much indeed for taking time out to see me. I hope you're okay, and hopefully soon the weather might improve a bit, and then we can have some real daylight instead of this, yes, whatever I call it. So thanks again for watching me. Lovely to see you all. I hope you have a fantastic week. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.